I'm trying my best not to say it. Think back. March 2024. The Real Recovery Podcast put out an episode all about involuntary commitment and involuntary detainment, specifically addicts, specifically people struggling with mental health, and how it's actually so much easier than you think for somebody to be detained against their will, depending on the state you live in. Over the summer, the Trump administration made that even easier. Let me be objective here. He made that easier for the states who are willing to take an incentive. Our state's not one of them. That doesn't mean shit though, because he can override that, obviously. And look, with all due respect, I have nothing but respect for whoever's running our country at the time. I don't care who it is. I very much respect our president because they're not as in charge as you think they are. They're a speculatory figurehead. They've got people who are wild, like RFK, running around saying the worst and the most. They're speculatory figureheads. They take a lot of shit for a lot of people who otherwise don't want to take that shit. Follow the bouncing ball. I told you guys this is going to keep happening, and this is going to be the progressive state of the nation. On Friday, the Trump administration dismantled just about SAMHSA. They are responsible for rolling out 988, which is the suicide prevention hotline where you can call or text and get a response. SAMHSA was created in 1992 through bipartisan legislation and was signed into being an administration and part of the larger picture by then President George W. Bush. The firings took place as part of a wider layoff due to the government shutdown, and they were deemed non-essential. SAMHSA only had about 900 employees, and that sounds big, but imagine 50 states. Think of how many people, and think of how many people are in crisis. And if you think, well, obviously not enough to keep these people in jobs, you are so wrong. You are so wrong and so less than smart. Adding insult to injury by saying non-essential. And I know, well, that's just how they have to word it. Look, I'm a words person. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. That's on purpose. Like so much of this stuff that I've been telling you about, it's on purpose. In addition to this, I got wind from one of my sources that the United States is freaking out about these superbugs like E. coli and things like that are becoming antibiotic resistant. Well, we are now facing in the United States a massive superbug problem, especially with neonatal care. And that's a big deal because when they become antibiotic resistant and we're in the middle of a government shutdown, it takes at least 10 years for any antibiotic that's going to be used in neonatal care for development and all of the efficacy and trials and all of that. And right now, it doesn't look like the two have anything to do with each other. Mark my words. This is not haphazard. I want you guys in total fuckery trying to argue with each other semantics and self-righteous bullshit so that they can continue doing their war of extermination. Look, old life, even before, conspiracy theory, please get your tinfoil and go the fuck over there. New life, I have yet to be wrong. They're going after the most vulnerable populations, the homeless. Now, homelessness is a crime. It's essentially a crime. The detainment and replacement of them is being incentivized financially, fiscally. The detainment of drug addicts, another very sensitive population. Speaking of which, fentanyl. If you're in the medical field or the veterinary field, you understand fentanyl. What's on the streets now is not that. It's not that. Drug addiction is way too profitable to ever go away. All I'm saying. And now superbugs with neonatal care, as it is, we have the lowest survival rate postpartum for moms in the world. That is disgusting. And here we are with this superbug problem resistant to antibiotics that are going to take coincidentally like 10 years before we can get it under control. And so what's going to happen in those 10 years? Lots of suffering, lots of pain, lots of death and loss. And we don't have SAMHSA, a huge resource. This is a war of extermination. If you think that that is a dramatic term, I implore you to read the book. It's a biography called Chief Seattle. I will link it somewhere, someplace on the social medias. I'll link the book there on the website, msha.ke/therealrecoverypodcast.com. I'll have it there in the library section. I think it isn't actually in the library section of the website. They talk about the words being used in legal documents, the war of extermination that was happening here. When you read about it, you can't help but to think perhaps this isn't so much a historical piece of literature as it were a process that is kind of resorted to when all else fails. And that's the biggest problem that a lack of transparency creates. We can't keep ourselves safe, and the people that we trust to keep us safe, guaranteed, that safety of us is not first priority. Critically think for yourself, do the work, do the footwork to find out from sources. There's websites, quoted.com, one of the best websites you can use for sources, direct sources, doctors, lawyers, teachers, mental health professionals, surgeons. It's great for research papers. It's great for podcast episodes. It's great for any research you have to do or any questions you may have. Quoted.com. Head to quoted.com and start doing some research before that goes away too. Stay safe out there, stay well, stay healthy, and protect your peace at any and all costs, because let me tell you, nobody else will.